Shalom.
Well, shalom. Is it well with you?
I hope it's well with them. I hope that everyone that is watching this is well. We're going to do something that we haven't done before.
Never.
We hope that this makes you more well.
Even better.
Even better.
Fired up. Fired up.
We're going to be diving deep into the Word of Elohim, and we don't have any plan or schedule at all, and we
run on baby
journey.
schedules. Baby schedules.
This is
Full
dad life.
disclosure.
Yep.
We're super in the dad life phase right now.
Yep. His baby is asleep but on the edge, and my baby is awake, and I don't know what's going on there right now.
Moms. Praise Yah for moms.
Praise Yah
Hey,
for moms.
do you want to just go ahead and tell us? Oh, no. You want to pray first?
Let's pray.
Let's pray.
Let's
Let's
pray,
fire
and
it
then
off,
we'll
right?
yeah.
Hey, y'all, real quick. This is Linden. Linden. Mighty man of Yah. If you don't know about him, man, oh man. He has transformed my life and the lives of many people.
Take everything. Oh yeah, I'm on my face singing. Oh, I'm on my knees. Oh Father, Yah, will you lead me to your holy place? Take everything. Oh yeah, I'm on my face singing. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. Oh yeah, I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. To show me the way. So show me the way. Yeah, you show me the way. Oh Yahweh, and glorify your name. For you alone are holy, holy, oh Yahweh. For all the nations will come and worship before you. Oh, for you alone are holy, holy, oh Yahweh. For all the nations will come and worship before you. For your righteous acts have been revealed.
He is incredible encourager to me, and I wanted to have an opportunity to sit down and do an interview with him. And instead, we're just like, we're going to hang out enough that we can actually have prolonged get-togethers.
Yeah.
And something that I've never really had, which is another brother that we could get together and just break open the Word together and actually get to know some of the minutia of what it is that's led both of us on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to do a little intro time for him and for me on his channel, because those that are on his channel are going to be watching this as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just some dude on their channel. So anyways,
And some dude that we talk about and have shared things with. And if you guys don't know who this is, if you're on my channel and you're watching, this is Nathan Reynolds.
You knew. And you know what? Our Father knew that we were going to lose it, that we were going to forget Him, that we were going to inherit vanities and lies. And you know what? He knew you would want help. He knew you would want the truth. He knew that you would want redemption. And you know what? He had a plan in mind before the foundations of the world. He laid up in store and guarded and protected and concealed a perfect, sinless one, unblemished, unstained, without leaven, without adultery. Because you know what? The house of Israel had the leaven of adultery. And you and me have been saturated and raised and indoctrinated to be adulterers, to be idolaters. Ezekiel talks about that we have in our hearts erected idols. And he says, in your heart. We're like, I don't bow down and worship Baal. I've never even once stood in front of the altar and burned my child in front of everybody to witness. And you know what? He knows. But inside you is a temple, a tabernacle, where you can erect your idols. What is most important to you? What is most valuable to you? What is most precious to you? What do you sacrifice your time, your energy, your emotions, your finances towards? Is your idol. It's what will speak to you. Ezekiel 44 or 14. Go. Go, 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 go.
and I say that in a way of like, this is Nathan Reynolds. This man has changed my life, and has helped me identify who I am in Yeshua as a Gibor, as a Giborim, as a man of Yah, and what it means to be a warrior for Yah, what it means to honestly just to be even a father, and has helped me in my way of perceiving life, and ridding myself of vanity, and so many things. And his channel is the Linden Railroad, Nathan Reynolds, and they're just such a blessing to so many people. And if you haven't checked out his channel, do so like immediately after this video, because there's so much on his channel, so many resources. And you know, I say this about him, he's so real, like he's genuine and real, and will open your eyes to so many things that are just right in front of you, that are happening around you. You know, even whether it's like, you know, spiritual warfare, or whether it's like, you know, the emotional seasons of life, like he has opened the eyes of so many people. So I'm so thankful for this opportunity to get together and talk about the word, you know, and be able to just dive deep together. Like, this is fun. This is super fun. An honor for me to be able to do this. So
likewise, man. And Lyndon and his wife, Ruth Mitchell, have a music ministry that is just changing the lives of people in a serious and profound way. And we're going to talk about weaponizing worship, and we're going to talk about the just absolute inutterable power of people who lay down their life and lay down their idols in order to get to a place where they're willing to be the man and the woman of Yah that they were made to be, and nothing else. And I've seen a transformation take place in him and his wife over the last year as I've gotten to know them, and we've become very, very close. And it has astounded me to see the face down humility seeking the Father. And I think behind the scenes today, most people, they just hear your music, but they don't get to see the hard battles of his life, you know. And this is like
the inner workings,
you know, like when you see people's Bibles who look like this, when you're like, hey, you want to do a Bible study? And they break out a Bible that looks like this,
just
you're
wait.
like, dang, yes, I do. It's like, I want to do that. I want to hang out and do Bible studies together.
This is a newer Bible for me, and I'm slowly going through it, but that's how I take my notes, is I have to write in it. I have to like really get in and dive deep. And it takes me, I'm going chapter by chapter through the Torah, and it's taken me 2 years. Wow. And I'm not even finished. And so I'm very slow. Sometimes I've done other studies here and there, but like it's a fun way of going about studying the Word of Elohim. It's just rigorously just going through every detail. And I just love doing that. And so I know you're similar, and just when you look at a story, or when you look at a part of the Bible that you know have maybe not yet really dove deep into, it just is like, you know, and you're just wanting to share everything, because you're like, that's so cool. And you're keeping all these details and things that people don't really know in the back of your mind. You're like, wow, I need to share that. That's so amazing. So I think we both share that like common ground when we're studying the Word and we're really diving deep, because I know for being able to talk about you, like, we love studying the Word. Yeah. Love it. It's like, I have to have it part of my life. It's like, I have to do it. Otherwise, my days, my life doesn't feel productive. Yeah. It doesn't feel like I've done anything with my life. You know, I have to have this as part of my life. So I think you would agree, right?
Absolutely.
It's your sword.
It is. But I think we just get caught with our pants down too often, because we forget our like basic toolkit. Yeah. And this is definitely one of it. And I'm not going to try to sit here and say I've consistently always read the Word every single day. I'll tell you, my hunger and desire for the Word has gone through many highs and lows, but progression there's been progress throughout my life towards a deeper hunger for the Word. And it required a major cutting off of, like you talked about, vanity, this stronghold that I had still for what do other people think of me, you know, and the perceptions of the world that had still been impressioned in me so diligently and deliberately. And to get to see people that are laying that down, it requires taking violence to your idols. Like, you have to physically destroy just them out of your life and uproot them. And it's like, it takes diligence, it takes commitment, and it takes bravery Big time. To be able to do that. And most people aren't willing to be so blunt about it, you know? And so I appreciate the honest sincerity that you have for how you study the scriptures. And I hope you feel like understood that there are going to be people that process the Bible in ways that only you can help them to see. And there's going to be ways that people process it that I can. And there's ways that you each and individually, and the sphere of influence, the people that you have in your lives and around you, you're like custom catered ambassadors, like representatives, like secret agents who are there to be a light into a place of darkness. And it may look shiny and clean on the outside, but a place of hellacious darkness is in so many people all around us.
Yeah.
And so we are supposed to be agents on guard who are like diligent warriors in a battle of absolute eternal importance.
Yeah.
And this is like our most important thing we could ever come to know in our life.
This is the most important weapon.
This is our foundation. Like it is a sword, right? Small one. I need this right now because I'm doing this right now all the time.
And I need this because I like to have the space to write.
So this is my large print edition. I started trying to kill vanity so hard that I read the entire audio scriptures, like dramatized a little bit style from this Bible because it's large print. This is the scriptures ISR large print.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Fantastic.
It's a weapon. That's a
But
big.
it's really hard to hold this one-handed and put it in your pocket.
Nope.
And I'm all about EDC stuff, y'all. Like I like stuff that's pocket-sized and super efficient,
Yes.
like knives, flashlights.
Absolutely. And I wanted to say that, this is important that we're wielding these weapons properly and with responsibility, and that we're not like, trying to slash people's ears off like what Peter did with the sword. Like we don't want to come off.
He made that guy defiled, so
Yeah.
he couldn't enter the temple. It's not that he necessarily missed and tried to cut his head off and instead got his ear. Dude who carries a sword is pretty savage.
It's
I'm
crazy.
gonna say it. They asked. They're like, "Hey, we got 2 swords. Is that enough?" He's like, "Yeah, take the whole world out." That's what I think about every time. Him and 2 guys. They're
Yeah.
like, smoke the whole world.
Yeah.
But he cut off his ear to keep him from going in.
And I think that we sometimes can be like him and using the weapon that Yah has given us to cut off the ears of the people, and we're just yelling at them. We're just telling them like, this is what you got to believe. So you got to hold it with responsibility and care.
Yeah.
And I was going to say Yeshua came over and healed the ear. He was the one who healed it, and we're supposed to look like him. And so he used, he was the Word made flesh, right? So he used the weapon, which was himself, to bring healing. And that's something that is very unique. It's like, this is a double-edged sword, sharper than any double-edged sword. And it is also to be used in a way that brings healing. Conviction, definitely cuts to the heart, but it brings healing and restoration as well. And that's what we're hopeful for, is that we can use this to bring healing and restoration into people's lives and to convict them and not cut their ears off. Not turn them away from the truth.
That's right. Dude, you got it, man. Isaiah 58. Check this out. Let's fire this off.
Okay.
Is not this... Oh, man, let's just back up. It's just so good. I just want to read the whole chapter now.
Isaiah 57.
58.
58. Okay.
This is... just even as you said, how we use this sword improperly, and we cut people's ears off.
Yes.
You're absolutely right, man. And Isaiah 58 is literally about ways of using Yahuwah's loving instructions, his Torah, his commandments as a weapon, and trying to kind of force the Father's hand by being like, we got the checklist done. Like, we accomplished all these things. See our righteousness, and they get into this pointing of the finger.
Right.
I just want to get there. Cry aloud. Do not spare. Lift up your voice like the shofar. Declare to my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me day by day, and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness, and did not forsake the right rulings of their Elohim. They ask of me rulings of righteousness. They delight in drawing near to Elohim. They say, why have we fasted, and you have not seen? Why have we afflicted our beings, and you took no note? Look, in the day of your fasting you find pleasure, and drive on all your laborers. Look, you fast for strife and contention, and to strike with the fist of wrongness. You do not fast as you do this day to make your voice heard on high. Is it a fast I have chosen, a day for a man to afflict his being? Is it to bow down his head like a bulrush, and to spread out sackcloth and ashes? Do you call this a fast and an acceptable day to Yahuwah? Is this not the fast that I have chosen to loosen the tight cords of the wrongness, to undo the bands of the yoke, to exempt the oppressed, and to break off every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and that you bring to your house the poor who are cast out? When you see the naked and cover him, and not hide yourself from your own flesh, then your light would break forth like the morning, your healing spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you. The esteem of Yahweh would be your rear guard. Then you shall call. Yahweh would answer. When you cry, come on.
Look at that. Right there.
That's my son.
We may need to take a dad break.
I'm getting into the full rooting method here. He's going into a full root. So we're gonna pull an e-break.
A D-break.
Yeah, D-break. Dad break. We're gonna go do the dad thing, and we'll catch y'all shortly.
Just
Sword fights are short sometimes.
Give us a minute. Here we go.
Dad time. Dad break. We're back. It took many hours, actually.
Yeah.
Shocking amount of time. You know, we are both total rookies at this, by the way. I just want to say this. Linden, first time dad? Yes?
First time dad.
Yeah.
First time dad. But you've got several children, so you know this life, but what you don't know is twins.
Bro.
And man, that's just life-changing. That's just life-changing.
Unknown twins. These were like hideaway twins.
Crazy.
Secrets from the father. We did not know. He sent us a dream a couple weeks before she gave birth. It was like his last warning, where we were like both in the same night, like had dreams of us having twins. We woke up the next morning. We're like, no way, dude, Yahweh. Dude, it went down. It was Twin Town.
Oh,
but I'm arms free right now. My son Abraham is quiet and alert, which is a mercy. So I've got 4 others to tend to pretty much continually now. It's unbelievable. My wife did a natural home birth, and I caught baby 1, Pearl, Mayana Wisdom. She's tiny, petite. She's like,
but beautiful.
She's like a Latina. She's like totally strange. She really is. She's very Latin.
That's so funny.
And my wife and I honeymooned in the Latin lands.
Oh.
So I think she's our baby that's just 12 years late. So I think we would have had these children in reverse order, which is crazy. But I am delighted to get to hang out here right now with you guys. This is savage.
It's gonna be fun.
But
we're still in the beginning part of this. We need to. We haven't even started to dive in. We were talking earlier about the cutting off, like using the sword to either be a weapon that cuts the ears off of the people who you're trying to minister to, or it can be something that heals and is something that brings conviction and hope, restoration to people. And you brought up the prime and beautiful example of Isaiah 58. You want to talk more about like what those, we're talking about how it checked the boxes, like what boxes did that check in reference to Isaiah 58 and what we were talking about?
Yeah, man, I'm going to jump right back into Isaiah 58 because as I was reading this, my son began to cry. He began to stir. But Isaiah 58 is one of the most profound scriptures. It covers such a multitude. It's like a tiny synopsis chapter. Anytime I get into one of these, like I think of it as like a much more powerful weapon in your arsenal. Yeah. It's like going from the rifle up to like the anti-tank missiles, like just AT-4.
I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't know anything about
missiles,
legitimate weaponry.
I
don't know anything. Here. I know like just the gist of swords and a little bit of guns, but nothing specific.
Linden didn't have that background.
No. I've been a musician and kind of programmed to be a musician my whole life. Like legitimately, I just think that's been part of my life ever since I was a little baby. So that's all I've ever really known. I've not known a whole lot of other realms, in this world of like different trades. I don't know. I don't really know. I just learned how to use a drill. So it's cool. I'm learning lots right now. It's great. I want to learn more. So it's good. And I'm learning a lot about weaponry from you and what you've taught me about knives. And you haven't taught a whole lot about guns because I think that life's been put off. But
it's a totally different life,
Yeah.
But there's this like scales of magnitude. Even you as a worship artist, anytime you have another tool in your arsenal to just make something so much more potent, like the reason you use certain pieces of technology, like when you're boosting your music, you understand the difference between a unamplified sound and amplified sound. You understand the differences of like being able to be way more professional sounding and clear and concise. And you've taught me how there's certain tools that just make things so much more effective. And that's what I really feel like anytime I come across something in the scriptures, like a synopsis chapter, like when Joshua is standing up and like giving a history lesson of what's happened and bringing it all together. It's like they're summarizing the entirety of history in a moment. And that's what I really feel like Isaiah 58. It's like anytime you want to get into a way of praying, like intercession, deliverance, seeking repentance, anytime you're in a time of like deep need, these should be the kinds of chapters that come like popping out of the pages in your mind. You know, this is the stuff I believe that the Father brings to remembrance, like through the Spirit of truth.
What would you think of, like, could you use that in a personal application of life and just say, like, maybe you go through your own personal history with Elohim and just kind of thinking through what he's done for you and how he's delivered you from the things in your life, and so that you're using that in your prayer. Like, would you think that would be like something that would be a useful tool for people when they're praying? Like, would that, do you think that would be something they could do, is like to think about their history as you know, Peter did when he gave his synopsis. Stephen gave a synopsis. You know, like I think of certain people like that. So maybe just as Isaiah is giving something kind of similar in a different kind of way, but like, would that be something we could do for ourselves? Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking about that. Like, I've not necessarily done that. Thinking about every, you know, all the deliverance and bringing me out of certain things. You know, just thinking in reference to the Israelites bringing me out of Egypt. You know, and giving, you know, me the ability to be where I'm at. You know, so I don't know. That could be something that maybe blesses a lot of people, just like, because maybe they don't know how to use their prayer time effectively. And that could be something you do. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think as your relationship with the Father grows and matures, you do develop testimonies. Like, it's unstoppable how powerful he can work in your life and how reserved he can be. And so the experiences of those are the things that build our stones of testimony. And he says the enemy is defeated, Revelation 12:11. The enemy is defeated by the blood of the Lamb, not loving your lives when faced with death, and by the words of our testimony. And like these, so when I read something like that, I think of that's the hit list. Like, that's literally our weapons in this warfare. And so how do we effectively use our testimonies? It's by sharing them out. And it requires boldness. It requires vulnerability and humility. And this is where, like we talked about earlier, we were really praying about the root issues of pride and like how pride can creep in to your life in unbelievably effective ways. You said earlier, you even think that more of the first sins had to do with pride in the heart of Eve.
I think that was probably, like, if we were to really simplify what happened in the garden with the serpent, that was the first sin. It was pride, because you're putting yourself above Elohim. That's like the most simple definition I can think of of pride, is putting yourself above him and saying, my needs are greater, my desires are greater than that of what I'm supposed to be doing, you know, pleasing Elohim with your life. So I just think of that as like the very first sin. But some people debate that, but I think that if I was to look at the garden situation and that what happened, I think I could simplify that back down to just pride. And I think that's one of the greatest sins of all time, is pride. I mean, that's Satan falling down from, you know, falling from heaven. His whole thing was that he thought he could be like Elohim, you know. I think that's what is that
he had 5 I wills.
That's not Job. That's that, what was that? Is that Joel? Or I can't remember the passage that talks about him where he says that about himself.
It's Ezekiel 28.
Oh, it's Ezekiel 28. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think it's a good passage just to remember, but because it kind of identifies who he is a little bit more. Oh, yeah, right here. Ezekiel 28. I am God. I am a God. I sit in the sea of gods, in the heart of the seas. You are a man and not God. Or Elohim. Sorry, I'm reading from a NASB. I usually say Elohim. Although you make your heart like the heart of Elohim, behold, you are wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that is a match for you. By your wisdom and understanding, you have acquired riches for yourself. You have acquired gold and silver for your treasuries. By your wisdom, you have by your trade you have increased your riches, and your heart is lifted up because of your riches. Therefore thus says Yahuwah Elohim, because you have made your heart like the heart of Elohim. Therefore, behold, I will bring strangers upon you, and the most ruthless of the nations, and they will draw their swords against the beauty of your wisdom and defile your splendor. They'll bring you down to the pit, and you will die the death of those who are slain in the heart of the seas. You will say, I am an Elohim, I am God. In the presence of your slayer, though you are a man and not Elohim, in the hands of those who wound you. You will die the death of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken, declares Yahuwah Elohim. Again, the word of Elohim. I think this is like I don't know if this is necessary.
This is it. Keep going.
Oh,
You're
really?
one verse away.
Oh, right,
I know.
right.
I know you're wondering, dude.
Again,
right
the
there.
word of Elohim came to me, saying, Son of man, take up your lamentation over the king of Tyre, and say to him, Thus says Yahuwah Elohim, you have the seal of perfection. There it is, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was your covering: the ruby, the topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the lapis lazuli.
Lapis lazuli.
Lapis
It's
lazuli.
beautiful blue and
Say that word.
sapphire blue
Lapis
color
lazuli.
and gold flecks in it.
Yes, the turquoise and the emerald and the gold and the workmanship of your settings and sockets was in you. On the day that you were created, they were prepared. You were anointed cherub who covers, and I placed you there. You were on the holy mountain of Elohim. You walked in the midst of the stones of fire. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created until unrighteousness was found in you. And it's
What
like
is righteousness, Linden?
keeping his commands, keeping his ways.
Psalm 119, 142. Your
Blessed is
righteousness is righteousness
Right.
forever, and your Torah is the truth.
Yes.
The loving instructions of Yah are the truth.
Yes. I think of Psalm 1 as well, but that's exact. Yeah.
Tell him.
Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, or stands in the way of sinners, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahuwah, and upon it he will meditate day and night. And he does that, he'll be like a tree that's firmly rooted beside still waters, besides living waters. And when I read that, I've seen other translations say living. It's like besides the living waters, and you will reap your fruit in its season. And I just think, oh man, that's like the definition, and the wicked are not so. They're like the chaff blown and tossed by the wind, but Yahuwah knows the way of the righteous. And I think that's right there. But Yahuwah knows the way of the righteous, and it just defined what righteousness is. Not doing wickedness and letting the word of Yah be put upon your heart, walking in his ways. So I think it's your delight is in the Torah of Yahuwah. That, I think, righteousness right there, and can we achieve righteousness on our own? I think we need Yah, because it says that, Abraham was credited with righteousness for just believing or having faith. And I think that was an action, 100%.
The faith was an action, was raising up his son. It says later on that Abraham raised up his children in the ways of Yahuwah.
Right.
And he made it generational.
Yeah.
And that's when the seal of Yah is like stamped on a father, on a family. Like, it's like you've imparted it unto your children. And like, this is literally what you were born to do.
Right.
Is to make disciples, make apostles, who make apostles.
Yeah.
Like, you continue to reproduce everywhere you go.
I think, just getting back to pride, it's like we lose track of that mentality of being fathers in this world, or brothers, sisters, whatever your position is in life is. Everyone holds several positions, son, daughter, father, mother, whatever, and your responsibility in life is to bless those around you, to love those around you, and to not curse, and to uplift and encourage, but also to be righteous, to not be prideful, and to not fall into that snare and trap of Satan. Like what he is defined as doing is until unrighteousness is found in him. Right? Like, let's not let unrighteousness be found in us.
That's
I don't want unrighteousness. I want to be set apart. I want to be righteous as much as I possibly can be. And I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to call myself that, or look upon myself and be like, I am a righteous man. I don't want to say that. I think my righteousness is but filthy rags. I want to just remain humble, because otherwise I'll be just letting pride back in. And then, so that, I think that's a super easy snare for people It's one of the easiest to fall for. And I just today was repenting and praying that that pride would be totally taken off of me. Because I definitely don't want that unrighteousness in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to
Keep going, dude.
No,
No. You got to
but-
finish. You were just at those
Well,
words.
Oh,
You were at his words. So the reason I stopped you is because other translations will say when iniquity was found in him.
oh, sorry.
And it's
Yeah.
like that spot is
Yeah.
like the generation. This is the power source of the kingdom of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you are trying to identify your enemy's vulnerabilities, you're looking for specific areas from whence they get their power, their trade routes. Like, this is the currency of the kingdom of darkness, is lawlessness, is iniquity. Okay. Sin is the transgression of the Torah. This is like fundamentals. The beloved apostle of Yochanan, John, like grows up at the bosom of Yeshua. He's like, sin is transgression of the law. Real basic,
Yeah.
like definitions of terms that change your life.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a culture of Christianity that said sin is missing the mark. That was like all I was told. I went to private, very expensive Christian Bible school, like
Yep.
all kinds of different places, many different fields of training, up to into the master's level classes with apologetics and Dr. William Lane Craig. And like, there is a lack of specificity in our warfare because we have a vagueness of terms.
Yeah.
And it creates this blurriness to our target.
Yeah.
And the
Big time.
target is sin, right? People are like, we got to get sin out of our lives. And you're like, I'm just missing the mark. And I felt like I was raised in a culture of a very powerless Christianity. And it just made me feel weak. And like, my job is to just hang around and take a beating until I get to go to heaven someday. Like, that was this doctrine that was kind of fed to me. And yet the kingdom of darkness had this totally different offer, which was power now, on demand. Like, on demand power, no matter what was going on. You could have power on demand. You could have what you ask for when you ask for it. It's like the genie. You're like, oh, wouldn't that be nice? 3 wishes, and it's like, this is what King Saul goes and plays, with the witch of Endor. He goes in to inquire there because he can't get it from Yahuwah. He swears an oath with the witch of Endor the last day of his life. He swears an oath in the name of Yahuwah that he wouldn't put her to death. And then he swears another oath to protect himself. And it's like, he instantly got what he asked for. He got to talk to Samuel again. He got to talk to Samuel, and he got his judgment and his destruction.
And that was literally in the Torah. It says, you shall not suffer a witch to live, or sorceress.
And he swore it. Like, he swore it out. And all this world is run by the words of our lips. Like you just said, Linden said something about that was birthed out of Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
Like, that is literally with the book. It's the book the Messiah combated the dragon with. Like, he had a showdown with the dragon on this earth. Physical flesh man.
Yep.
The word made flesh.
Yep.
And he shoots out
Just
daggers.
Deuteronomy daggers.
Dang, dude. I
love those Deuteronomy daggers.
Savage. That's your anti-tank stuff.
Yeah.
Right? The book of Deuteronomy is.
Yeah.
And when you read it, you're like, what?
Shall not test Yahuwah your Elohim. It's like,
Bam.
I think we can really learn a lot from seeing how Yeshua combated against the enemy.
That's right.
Like, in just the words, he's so simple, did not say much.
Has it not been written?
Yeah. Said so little, Well, sometimes I definitely am a culprit of this, of speaking so much and trying to make sense of things or try to assume things or create things. And it's like, just be like straightforward. Just quote scripture. Just look at the scripture and read it and understand that that's what it's like. If I was in the place of going before Saul and Shaul before the last days of his life, and I was going to go before him and tell him, like, hey, you messed up, like a prophet would or whatever. I'd go up and be like, you shall not suffer a witch to live, like, just simple word, simple verse, and then turn away, because like, you just totally broke that commandment. Am I righteous enough to do that? Probably not. I think I definitely don't feel like I'm in that place to be able to do that. But like, that is the kind of combat we could have with each other and brother to brother. Like, I could be able to tell you if I saw something in your life, or you could tell me something in my life. We can love one another just by looking at the word and being like, hey, it says that.
Yeah.
What do you think? It's
That's why they teach parabolically.
Yeah.
Because if you got a bunch of Miriams in the room, y'all, if you've never been to a feast of Yahuwah, like Sukkot, You'd be like, hey, does anybody know where Joshua is? There's like 45
Yeah.
Joshuas. Like,
That one.
how about James? Oh.
Right. Nope. That's even worse.
But
Yeah.
they teach parabolically because you're not shaming people. And shame is, I think, the root reason people get into pride is because they've been shamed in specific areas of their life, and they've taken it on as an identity, and it's literally like it binds them up, and pride is this thing that kind of can help to lift people out of that binding. And in areas specifically where people get shamed, you see a specific wound that needs to be healed, because generally the way people in the world are propelled out of that is through pride. Is like there's vulnerability, there was wounds that were given, and identities were damaged, and people became very, very vulnerable through shame. And that is this is this power that the enemy feeds off of. Like I was trying to explain to Naomi, she's 6 years old, how the mechanics of spiritual warfare, because we have spiritual warfare that takes place not that often, but on occasion. And early on, when she was first born, I was coming out of a crazy, insane occult family, and I was refusing to pass my children on through the fires to Moloch, and there was generational warfare that broke loose. And so, like, the beginning years of her life had been quite peculiar, Like, I have zero contact with that side of my family, and not like that they're all radical, intelligent, evil, like blood-drinking monsters, but there are people that are just given over to a conscience that's been seared by transgression, by lawlessness. Like, there is an extremity to the sins of pride. There's an extremity to these things that is like a eye that is never satisfied. And it just gets drawn into these snares, and it can't get out of it. You see this happening with Solomon. You see this just pinnacle of his life as his father setting him into the kingdom. Like, and I speak a little more parabolically and longer-winded in some ways, because I really look at the model of Nathan the prophet and how he gave testimonies to make people feel the understanding of what the scripture says plainly.
I mean, that's what
like
Yeshua himself did.
You can attack with the very extremity. I like to make knives. This is one I made out of the compressor turbine blade from a jet electric.
It's beautiful.
Furnace.
It's a beautiful knife.
Anyways, this is I wanted to have more of like a dive knife is what I thought. I was like, I gotta be able to fight the dragons down in the depths of the inner earth. If you don't know about it, underneath your feet is an elaborate series of tunnels full of incredible creations the eye has never seen.
Really?
Man,
we gotta talk about
you gotta go spelunking sometime.
We should go spelunking.
There is another world beneath your feet. Like, we live in the Ozarks, y'all, and there are thousands of caves, and they are unbelievable. There's lion tracks down here, fossilized, not even really fossilized technically, which is exciting. There are the largest lion print ever found is in a cave here
in Missouri.
Because that's
crazy.
It's a 10-foot lion.
10 foot.
10 foot, like,
in Missouri.
In Missouri, in the Ozarks.
Are you
Everybody,
sure it's the
dude, I
lion?
talk to locals and they're like, we got the biggest everything out here. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, biggest rattlesnake ever found? Arkansas. You're like, oh man. And they're like, alligator gar, Arkansas. That's like a 10-foot sea monster. Weighs 700 pounds.
Wow.
Crazy stuff down here, man.
That's crazy.
Anyways, I love crazy stuff like this because I think of Benaiah fighting a lion in a pit on a snowy day, like mighty men and fierce battles and showdowns, right? Like, Yeshua used, like, this is like a very tiny 2-edged sword, right? That's why I got it right now. Because he used the tiny 2-edged sword. Sometimes that's just the little bits of scripture
Short
that you
dagger.
get out there. That's your just your
The
little
Deuteronomy
bits.
daggers.
That's all that is. That's the Deuteronomy daggers, you know? And then sometimes you're like into the full blade, you know? Like Ehud, the left-handed assassin. Man.
So many.
These
so
are all
many
my
awesome
favorite people, man.
So many scriptural characters that are amazing.
But I think we just want to talk about the mechanics of the word and how you use it effectively. And you see how pride built one up and he lifted himself up. Would you read the next verses which are like his declarations?
By 16, verse 16 of, wait, where am I at? Yeah, so verse 15 of Ezekiel 28 just said, I just finished that one, was until unrighteousness was found in you. By the abundance of your trade, you were internally filled with violence and you sinned. Therefore, I have cast you as profane from the mountain of Elohim, and I have destroyed you, O covering cherub. from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom by reason of your splendor. Vanity.
Boom.
Vanity. Literally. He was taken up because he fell because of vanity, pride. But yeah, I was going to say that's like, I think that's so, if we should let that sit within us. Like he fell because of his own beauty and pride. He was looking in a mirror and thinking, wow, I'm such a great thing. I am Elohim. I am, something better than him. It's like, how often in our lives have we done that? Because I know I, fell into vanity myself and fell into, how I look and how I caring for how the ways that I looked in front of the eyes of people around me. And sometimes I still catch myself falling into that, and it's like, that's vanity. And at the core root of all that, I think it's just pride, like the simplest way of thinking about it is that like you have made yourself your idol. You are your idol. And, that's breaking, commandment number 1 and 2, I just think that's pretty straight, there. Just the core root of all that, of the sin of why he fell was pride. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
I think that's, and one thing that you talk quite a bit about, Chelsea talks quite a bit about on your channel, is vanity and ridding yourself of vanity and casting that image of yourself off.
Yes.
And stopping and not allowing this, idol of yourself to continue in your life. Cause it's just, we care so much about what we look like. And I think one of the best ways to die to yourself and to rid yourself of vanity, put some linen on. You'll figure out real fast that linen doesn't always look great. Like it's sometimes you have some real unique garments, but like, because you are, desiring to wear some set apart, awesome clothing that's made from flax, is like, you're going to find some really interesting garments. You might find some really cool stuff, These are cool garments that they're very rare. Very rare.
These are the rare ones.
Yeah, but then you'll find women's pants, and you're like, those could be men's pants, I guess.
They're close enough. I always tell Chelsea, I'm like, hey, will you put some belt loops on these?
Yeah.
I need belt loops and linen pockets because they like to hide the aluminum foil and the plastic bags in the pockets. I can feel it. Not always, but most of the time. Gets me. Bro, tactical pants were not made to be made out of nylon.
They're not made to be out of linen?
Nylon.
They're made to be out of nylon.
No, they're not made to be out of nylon. No.
Oh.
Most people that are tactical, dude, have never felt a pair of linen pants. So you're trying to bridge a big gap right here.
Yep.
Bros, you guys with your sweet EDC loadouts and your awesome tactical belts and your Ranger ready pants, hang in there for a second. Put on a pair of linen pants and walk outside.
Put linen pants on.
Bro, you'll be supercharged.
I think if you work outside or you do some like manual labor, just wear linen.
Changer.
It changes your entire life. I know it changed my life when I was putting linen on when I was working at a cabinet shop, and I worked in a literal like warehouse, and it got real hot in there with all the guys working, and like wearing my linen changed my life. It was so easy for me to work because it was breathable clothing. I could literally breathe. The sweat was not being stuck inside, by the cotton I used to wear. It would like the linen would allow it to breathe. And so whenever I have to go do hard manual labor, it's like immediate thought, I need my linen. It's like, it's a lot. It's so nice. And it definitely helped me rid myself of vanity and pride. And like some of the garments I used to wear I used to think they were so cool, and they just made me look more like a younger, immature boy, And I think sometimes we look at the world and we see some things that they put out there, and we're like, that looks kind of cool. I could wear that. But then we end up looking like the world.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a super literal way, because sometimes I'm not saying that like you wear certain garments and you're the world. No. I'm saying sometimes we end up looking like the world in some ways, and definitely putting on the linen that I found was like life-changing for me, because it's wrinkly, it's not always the most well crafted, and you don't always find the best garments or whatever, but just wearing it helped me. I got rid of all clothing that was mixed fibers or anything that was like not cotton or 100% cotton, and just wore that until I found more linen, and then I found linen and I was wearing that. It's like it's it's crazy how it helps you get rid of that. And that's just one tool to help get rid of pride and vanity, because that's what caused the serpent, or that's what caused the serpent to fall. That's what caused Eve to fall, man to fall. It's like, man, we
have a vulnerability there.
Yeah, big time.
This is areas of our vulnerability. So if we know the power supply for the kingdom of darkness comes from iniquity, breaking the commandments, then you know that the enemy's goal in order to get more power is to cause people to commit more sin. Like pure and simple warfare tactics here. They get more juice in their tank by the greater amount of iniquity and lawlessness that they get people to commit out here in this realm. It's like you have an enemy that can jack in a power supply bank from the back of your head. And the more transgressions that are, the more hatred and resentment and bitterness and emptiness, like the more negative emotions, like the evil fruits of the spirit, or like the evil acts that come from the spirit of the world, like the contrast compared to the fruits of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, like against these there is no Torah.
Yep.
Like it's literally like this is the fruit of life. He's like, these are the trees that you can eat from. These are the trees that when you eat of it, those seeds reproduce inside you and they bear forth fruits of iniquity. And it's like, and if you continue to be rebellious in your sin, in your area of life that is contrary to the living the way that he commanded you to live, if you start to turn from that, you're like extinguishing the enemy's fuel. And so it is like the more you begin to turn away from the ways of the world, the more you are willing to be transformed from the no longer being transformed by the patterns of this world, but being renewed by the transforming of your mind.
Yeah.
Like the renewing of your mind
Yep.
through the washing of the water of the word. It says very clearly in the scriptures, it comes through the washing of the water of the word. You have a job to do to wash your wife in the water of the word. Like you're commanded
Ephesians
to do
5.
this.
Yeah, I love
Like
that
these
passage.
are your instructions
Yes.
from Yah.
Yes.
Hey, the day you get married, you have a new set of responsibilities. You know, like there was a day that you suddenly became a worship pastor.
Yep.
Like here's the key to an office.
Right.
They did that for you. Your entire life had different responsibilities.
Right. And
that was not long ago.
No, it was like 2 years ago. Crazy things have happened within that time. It was the time frame that since we left that. But it is, you're so right. Like we've been given, many of us have been given responsibility, and with that responsibility, you know, we have the task and you know, moral burden to walk out his commandments, to be righteous, to seek righteousness, to seek Yah's ways, and to rid ourselves of ourselves, to die to our flesh. And I was going to say, you know, when you were talking about the fruits of the Spirit, you will know them by their fruits. You will know people by their fruits. So you'll see a brother or sister, like sometimes you'll be at the grocery store and you can just see someone because they're like glowing. You're like, that person has good fruit. You can just see it. You can literally like, I've met people and I'm like, I feel like you just you bear great, wonderful fruit because you love people so well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, these people may not be people who are 100% understanding.
Easy to love.
Yeah. They may not be people who are understanding the Torah necessarily entirely, but they're easy to love because they're so understanding. They bear great fruit in the sense that they love people. They're generous. They're just humble, kind, meek people. Those are the kinds of people that are teachable, that want to know. And when you share these things with them, they're like, oh, maybe I should go learn that. And like, I'm like, I want to be like you, like in the sense that I want to be humble and teachable and willing to hear things like you are. And the love that you're sharing with people, the generosity, the meek spirit about yourself. It's like, I want to be like that. You know, we need to be meek. And I definitely think, you know, you can see people in the opposite light as well, and the bad fruit that they bear. And, you know, you can see, that person may not be someone I want to mix with, that I want to, you know, definitely want to bless and love and try to show them, you know, and love who Yeshua is, but they may not be someone I want to like really yoke myself up with and spend, you know, like what we're doing right now is yoking. I'm like yoking myself up with you and doing ministry. Like this may not be something that you'd want to do with someone that bears bad fruit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, you should definitely work to minister.
Yeah.
But to, you know, spend a lot of time trying to encourage them over and over and over again, like just sitting there with them for hours and hours on end. It's like maybe that may not, because they could end up, you know, influencing you in different
Yeah.
things. And it's like, I think Yeshua he did it right. And the fact that he just ministered to people and they followed him. And it was like, the people who ended up following him were the meek people of the earth, the prostitutes, the tax collectors, the people who
Yeah.
were real messed up.
Yeah.
Real messed up. And
They had a better understanding of their humanity.
Yes.
This is what I would say, though.
Yes.
The reason it's easier to draw someone out of the dragnet of the enemy, like it talks about, is it Hezekiah? No. Sorry, there's a book, Hosea, Habakkuk. They make sacrifices. It talks how they literally are, like, if you let down a dragnet, y'all, if you don't know about, do you know what a dragnet is? Can I just explain
that
something
fish?
ridiculous?
Is that
Dude,
fishing
check
net?
this out.
Okay.
Do you like how they get how do we always have tuna in the story? Like, dude, they got tuna forever. It's like, seems like
lots
we have
of
a
tuna.
never ending supply of tuna. Well, there's different ways that they catch fish. And one of them is a dragnet. And they go out with these gigantic ships, just monstrosities. And they're floating fish factories. So they're a canning facility. They have an entire facility for canning and processing the fish as it comes in and then storing it. And they can be out for months at a time, 6 months, like a nuclear submarine, just gone. They go out and they drop these nets that have weights at various places on it so that as it comes down, it unfurls along the bottom of the ocean for miles sometimes.
Wow, really?
And they can open these things up, these mouths of these things, and it drags with weights down, heavy down on the bottom, and just the boat just drives along the bottom of the ocean, or on the top of the ocean, this net on the bottom, and they just drag the ocean and collect every single thing that gets caught in it, right? That's a dragnet, okay? It talks about that being the way that the kingdom of darkness operates, and that people are making sacrifices to empower the dragnet. So, like, if you guys think about the dragnet of the spidery web that this world has been ensnared in, like the grips of the adversary, if you've never been around like highly venomous spiders, it's quite thrilling. Like, I held a black widow on my finger in a sink down in Florida. We were
Crazy.
washing vegetables, and people are like, "There's a black widow," and I'm like, James chapter 5, he has given us dominion over everything, every beast of the field, cattle. I'm telling you, I love James 5 because it says that all creatures have been tamed by man.
Right.
And I'm like, you got it. Somebody tamed black widows out there. I'm going to be that guy. I won't do it forever because I still have a family of 6 now. I've got to be that guy and be like, temper your risk. But I picked this thing up, this little black widow, and I held it in my finger, and I was walking around and showing people, and they were freaking out. They were losing their minds. It was marvelous. It's totally cool. Totally cool. I've had black widow spiders around me my whole life, and like, they weave some crazy webs, and different animals, the way they hunt people is crazy. And so this is like, anytime I think about this dragnet that this world has been ensnared in, I think of that. I think of this is how the enemy is empowering his kingdom. Is like, they're making sacrifices. And people are always like, they're not slaughtering sheep everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, but you sacrifice through your time, through your energy that you give, the money you spend, what you look at with your eyes. Like, we are all these giant worship factories, and we are producing power. Like, truly, we are producing power, because if you give your attention to somebody, like my daughters right now, we got brand new twins out of nowhere. We went from a family of 4 to a family of 6 in less than 30 minutes. It was crazy. 10 months before that. But it was crazy. 3 nights of labor too. But the twins themselves were only like 30 minutes apart. And it was so instantaneously life-changing forever. And so any little bit of attention I give my daughters right now, they just bloom. You're like, oh, that's so sad. You don't want to be a dad who has so limited time that you can only give like a moment with each of your children each day. But then you realize that's part of growing up. And that's part of this experience that they're all going to be going through. Like, but if you give your attention to something, you give your worship to it. You give your power to it. Like, this is the way the enemy is dragging people away. If you think about how much screen time people have right now in their lives, if you think about how much, like, our phones are a temptation. You even told me why, dude, will you tell them why you dump social media, basically?
Oh, dude.
Can you please tell them? Because he told me this testimony. I've not interviewed a lot of people on my channel. Okay, one. I believe I only have one actual interview where I interviewed anybody else. But this is the only other person I've like been like watching his fruit for a while, y'all. Highly recommended individual. No, I say that for real. Like, I don't recommend a lot of individuals, but I recommend many to some. This guy I recommend to everyone.
Oh, praise Yah.
No, but it's because
Bless you, bro.
dude's been battle tested. You know, he's experienced life and death to their extremities. You know, and he's like, oh, I've just been raised in the worship world, savage place, full of unbelievable stuff, dude. You talk about it like it's like some kind of pretty princess thing, but you've seen the dirty side of churchianity too.
I've seen a lot of,
and you've been a
dirty
part
stuff.
of that.
I've been a part of it. I've
Yeah.
seen what I would consider idol worship. You know, like what you're talking about, but in church. But yeah, I was gonna say what we were talking about was describing worship and just a little bit of when you're talking about, you know, that they sacrifice things to what Elohim. I don't know. There's some other Elohim. The world sacrifices their time, their things, their money, and other things to the progressive, growing technological society we live in. They're just wanting to buy into their ways of living, to themselves, to bringing comfort and
Hedonism.
yeah,
The chasing of pleasure.
It's all for them. And I was gonna say the church falls for that so much.
Yeah.
But before
Comfortable seats.
right, and before I get there, defining worship, I think a better way to define worship is like how to think about what you are ascribing worth to, like worthship. What am I giving worth to? You know,
What do you value?
what do I value? That is worship.
Yeah.
Because if you value something other than Elohim, then you're ascribing worth to that thing, and therefore worshiping something that's not him.
Yes.
And, you know, like, there's things in your life that you can give, you know, value to, but are they more valuable to you than Elohim is? Because he deserves every bit of attention, every bit of glory, esteem, and praise that you have within your body, everything that you have in your home. He deserves everything. And like, if we're not giving him worth of everything, then we're holding on to things. And I feel even convicted in myself, like, there's things I gotta let go of because I've ascribed worth to other things. It's like, man, we need to really think about what are we ascribing worth to, because he's the only thing that deserves our praise and our adoration. But I was gonna say, you were asking about some of the things that I've seen and the reason why I got rid of social media. Well, ascribing worth once again. I was super addicted, like the definition of addiction. I was addicted to Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, even Twitter at times. It led me into really, really, really dark places, very dark places, because I idolized myself. I loved seeing the likes, comments, and things people would give me to make me feel better or to ascribe worth to me, right? And it was all about me. And so, like, when you see somebody, when you post a post out there and you get like over 100 likes or 1,000 likes, and you're sitting there like, wow, I got 1,000 likes. People really like my stuff. Wow, that's a prideful thing to think right there. It's like you don't think about it very much, but that's a very prideful thing to do, is to post something out there about yourself or even something you achieved in doing, and then seeing that people like that and then elevate you even higher. And some people are like, that's not why I have Facebook. I just connect with people. And it's like, yeah, okay, I get that. You want to be on it just to connect with people, your friends. And honestly, that's why I wanted to keep it. I fought for it. I fought so hard. My wife was the one that was diligently saying, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. You don't need it.
Brownie.
She literally kept saying that over and over. You don't need it. You don't need it. And she's like, I'll get rid of it. She had no reason to get rid of Facebook. She was not idolizing it. She didn't give any attention to it. She didn't care about Facebook. And she was saying, I'll get rid of it. I don't care. Let's get rid of it. I don't want this anymore. And I kept fighting for it because why? I was addicted. I was attached. I had soul ties to these things, this Instagram and Facebook and these images of myself that I had literally created for myself. That's literally breaking the commandments right there. Yeah. But anyway, I definitely worshipped these things. And I wouldn't say that, even back then, I wouldn't call myself worshiping anything on Facebook or whatever, but I was ascribing worth to it. I was definitely valuing it even above Elohim. So it was like I was worshiping it. And so I started to cut things off in my life that were causing me to sin and causing me to fall into temptation and darkness. And I literally cut off things, like simple things, like what people would not really think about, like movies. That was dragging me deep into sin. So I was like, okay, I got to cut that off. I stopped watching movies. Just cut it off.
Yeah.
I had a huge collection of Blu-rays, and DVDs. I collected them for so long, many years of collecting huge like library of DVDs. I gave them just to my roommates. I was like, here you go. And they're like, you're giving all this to us? And I was like, yeah, you can just do whatever you want. Sell it. I don't care. And they're like, okay. I needed to cut it off. I didn't want it. So I cut that off. I cut off, little parts of social media, Snapchat, Instagram, and like some things like that. But it was like even bigger to cut off Facebook and to cut off even screen time as a whole, and start getting into the more into the word and into what Yah is calling me to do, worship and creating music. Like I stopped doing those things that were taking me away from Him.
That's right.
And so when I cut those things off, I learned so much more, and I started spending time in the Word every day, and that it just totally changed my life. And so I totally encourage everyone, you don't need social media. You don't need it. You don't need it to be satisfied. You don't need it to connect to people. I connect to people every day, all the time.
Lots of FaceTime. Not camera FaceTime.
No,
human FaceTime.
It's FaceTime. It's connecting with people in person, but it's not just
Flesh
that.
time.
It's like I text people. I like call people all the time. Like I'm connecting. I'm constantly connecting, communicating to people. I don't need a social media where I'm going to be tempted to post things about myself, or I'm going to be tempted to create a reality for myself. That's also something about social media, is that you create your own reality and your own world that you want to be in, and not what Yah's given you and the personal relationship He's given you and that which you're supposed to be with others. And people could tell. I bet there are people out there who might be thinking like, YouTube social media. It is. It totally is. That's why we only use it for ministry, and that's why both me and my wife are doing it. And it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's not just my own profile. And some people use Facebook, so Facebook Marketplace, whatever. I get that. There's reasons for some things, but like I encourage people, like, you don't need it. You absolutely do not need it for any reason. And you don't need it to be satisfied or to fill you up. All you need is the Word of Elohim. 100%. That's all you need. You need the Word of Elohim. And I would also encourage that you need people around you, like a community of people to help you. But like, most importantly, you need His Word. And just rid yourself of those idols in your life. Cut off the things that are causing you to sin.
That's right.
It's just... It
Gouge
sounds really simple, but way harder to do. Like getting rid of movies was a huge deal for me. Huge. I spent hours every week, every day, sometimes watching movies. Like Ruth would be like, hey, you want to go do something? I'd be like, yeah, let's watch a movie. I was like, that's all I knew. That was the only fun thing I knew how to do. Watch movies. Let's just watch a movie. And it was date time.
That's
was
that
not
quick
that.
escape.
It's
That's
a
that
quick
quick
escape.
escape tactic.
Yeah.
Remember I said he'll give you like instant gratification now? Push play.
Yep.
Most dangerous button ever got.
Yeah.
Push play.
I honestly think that I would agree with that statement. It is
very dangerous.
So
What's
dangerous.
behind that little triangle?
You don't know sometimes. You don't know. And you might think
ambush
like,
may be
it's fine.
set.
And you know what? Like, there is so much out there, so many movies out there that hide demonic,
Oh yeah.
evil-
Prophets of Baal, man.
evil things. And like, there's more nudity coming out in movies. There's more sexual innuendo, more sexual immorality that's being pushed, adultery, transgenderism, and the gay and lesbian rights and all this stuff. It's like all this is being pushed, and when you click play, you let all that in. It's like so many movies out there are pushing that agenda.
You don't know what you're gonna get.
No.
Yeah.
Disney executive. There was a Disney executive that was just like, oh, I was able to get my little gay agenda in there throughout all the Disney movies, and she was saying that was like a happy and encouraging thing. It's like
You gotta understand, anytime you're trying to analyze the methods of the kingdom of darkness and how they're agents of evil, that's like the human side of their workforce, right? Yahweh has His people, human side of His workforce. Then there's spiritual agents, right? These are like principalities, powers, rulers, authorities, dominions, spiritual wickedness in high places. Like, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, y'all, but against those things. These are like a physical, spiritual hierarchy. That's like, for if you don't know, like a hierarchy, like there's a chain of command that are everyone is required to be in different pecking order of who's the most powerful. and who has the greatest authority. Like death used to have one of the greatest authorities over all the kingdom of darkness. He used to have these keys, like death has keys literally that control him,
Right.
like the keys of authority. And it said Yeshua literally went down into the deepest parts of the earth, physically down inside the earth, y'all. Not some hot molten core down there. Super different world if you read the scripture and you actually let it build the model for you, like profoundly.
Right.
Like he went down into the deepest parts of the earth and he took captivity captive, it said. And like he took the keys of death from the devil's hands. Like the devil used to have this like beast on a leash, and it was death, and he let it go on you, and he'd just tear you up. And it's like, we needed someone to put the end to that.
Right.
We needed someone who had a greater authority, had a greater anointing, who had a greater calling, and then when was tempted by all these very same things that you and I are sitting here being like, these are vulnerabilities, these are our weaknesses, these are the things that like have been our downfalls. And it's like, we share this with you, not to be like, hey, every one of you needs to apply these matters. Like, not all of you guys can go out and pee under a tree and just feel the invigorating goodness of nature. But you know what? Some of you can and you will. But like we share these things with you because these are the words that like transformed us. Like if you go back, every one of the videos basically we've ever put on our channel is on our video playlist. You can go back into the archives of our playlist here and you can see the people we were when we started on this journey. And like you will see the differences of how our walks have gone over the years and like how you've gone to a place of you can see the differences, I'll say this, of when Linden was that guy and what was wearing on his mind and the influence that he gave the enemy. And it literally says like it's like this inspiration literally is like you're saying that there's spirits that come down and put the idea in your head. Like you literally have this spire of an idea that comes to you, bam. And it's like, but if you're perpetually putting in these other images, it's like, it's going to wear on you. And if you're giving this a consideration, Jubilee, that's a great question. How many more hours until we are done?
It's Jubilee.
Probably less than 1. How about, does mom need my help, Jubilee? No. Tell her maybe 10 minutes. Tell her thank her so
Jubilee's
much.
So cute.
Hi, honey. Jubilee, do you want to come say hi real quick? Do you want to come say hi? Hey, y'all, this is my Jubilant Jane. Don't mind the tin foil on the walls, y'all. I have to create a very dark chamber when I put children down for naps at times.
I can't.
That's it.
Yeah, it's over there. But this is
my daughter. This is Jubilee Jane.
You're Jubilee.
Hey, check this out,
Say
y'all.
hi, Jubilee.
This is my daughter. She's jubilant. She lived her entire life in an RV up until a month and a half ago.
How is riding in the RV?
Yummy, good. Oh yeah, the pants dance.
The pants dance. She's silly.
I saw the pants dance.
All right, we're doing
Mom, let me see
crafts.
the video.
All right.
Mom, let me see it. Mom, let me see it. I want to see the crazy pants.
Woo.
Whoop, 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 whoop. She's a world
Wow.
traveler. She's a world traveler.
Yep, and she's super strong. Super strong. She took a
She's robust.
mighty fall today, but you're doing all right, Juby? You feel good?
What
Yeah.
happened? Do you want
Oh,
to
yeah.
tell everyone? Or no?
No, it's okay.
Anyways, Jubilee is like my companion now because we go and hang out all the time when mom and Naomi have the twins. My 6-year-old's basically like a 12-year-old. And
What are you making?
I'm making my maple syrup. We drill the tree. Put the bucket under. Oh yeah, you're telling me about it. Yes. Then we pour the syrup in. Do it.
praise Yah. Raise your children right, y'all. Dude, lots of pruning early on. Lots of pruning.
It's your
Heavy
quiver,
pruning.
man.
It's your quiver. Yeah, bro. You should maintain your weapons vigilantly. You know, like, hey, I didn't know this. I started studying different ways they made bow and arrows because I'm like, arrows, quivers. Like these children. Psalm 127. Hey, do you want to just go there? We'll read that real fast.
Yep, go ahead.
Because
Keep talking.
children are an inheritance of Yahweh. The fruit of the womb.
Did you say
is
one?
yours.
What was it? 137.
125 or 127? I think it's 125.
For those who turn aside to the crooked ways.
Nope.
27
going.
maybe?
Let's see it. Let's see who's got it. No. Let's see. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Jump into that, bro.
Yeah. Okay, let's just read all because it's super
Give me
short.
127. Yeah.
Unless Yahuwah builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. Unless Yahuwah guards the city, the watchman keeps awake in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to retire late, to eat bread of painful labors.
Say what you used to do all the time, Lyndon. Rise
What-
up early, watch movies. Stay up late, watch movies.
Yeah.
A little bit of that. I've
Yeah.
been there. You know, I'm not saying this because I'm like all innocent in this stuff too. Like I've watched a lot of worthless things in my life.
Yeah.
Total worthlessness. But I rose up early or I stayed up real late to do that. Isn't that
Yeah.
just ridiculous? He's talking about that. Anyways,
I
keep
once-
going.
I once-
Don't miss that.
I once waited in line for a movie for like almost 12 hours just to go see a premiere of a movie.
What movie?
I think it was Spider-Man. I think it was a Spider-Man movie. It's
This is like
ridiculous.
old selves, y'all. But you know what? They're offering something so tantalizing. They're offering like this escape to manhood.
It's like
Like
instant
y'all,
gratification.
It is, but they're like promising you manhood. They're
Yep.
promising you like Marvel and DC Comics and all
It's
this.
totally
like,
the opposite of
they-
manhood.
but they're offering you a version of it that's super good.
The
like
superheroes
they're
version?
offering they're making an incredibly delicious looking offer to the world, right? And they are like a multi-billion-dollar monstrosity of that. People staying up late to offer their offerings to that. That's why that looks so good.
It's the
That's
bread
why
of painful labors.
it's
where
the-
he gives
dude, he calls
just
it the
little
bread of
children, even
toil.
his sheep. Yeah.
Dude, say that verse.
So it is vain for you to rise up early to retire late. Mine says retire, but it could say delay sitting late to eat the bread of painful labors or toils. It literally says
Cabinetry
that right
making.
there. Toils. Yeah.
It was cabinetry making.
Yeah.
That was your toil time.
It was totally toil time, man. Toil time. I did not. It was. I mean, I enjoyed learning to do that. A skill and a trade. It was fun to learn to do that, but it was also just like constant toil because it was not like totally satisfying to me because I wasn't building it for much of a purpose.
Like 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
How many more minutes are you going to be done with the whole video?
About 10 minutes.
They
Okay.
may not. You guys might be able to hear how precious she is.
My daughter, she talks like a 6-year-old.
It's
And
so
yet her
amazing.
voice is like it's like this
tiny,
big.
tiny,
It's
tiny.
the tiniest
And she
voice.
talks so like full sentences, very clear. It's amazing.
We're
Anyway,
talkers.
Psalm 127. I want to finish
Just keep
this.
going, bro.
Behold, children are a gift of Yahuwah. The fruit of the womb is a reward, like arrows in the hand of a warrior.
Mighty
For
man,
the
Gibor.
children of one's youth. How blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be ashamed when they speak with their enemies in the gate. Praise
Even
Yah.
when you're at the enemies in the gates, bro. He's like, you're not going to be ashamed if you got a full quiver.
Yeah.
So I was studying like the way of building bows. I started trying to make an Osage orange bow staff, and I was shaving it down. Spent a ridiculous amount of time with a draw knife backwards. Feel like a doofus. And but the way you make arrows, this guy in his book that was it's like ancient weaponry of the Comanche maybe or Plains Indians. Anyways, I'll check it out. Hold on a second. This is ridiculous. He said it takes him longer to make an arrow than it does to make a bow. Like, it takes longer for him to make an arrow, one arrow, than it does for him to make an entire bow.
Why is that?
The process of selecting all the materials and acquiring them and then fitting them on there properly so that an arrow flies in a
Perfect.
very specific direction is very complicated to do when you're
Sounds-
just using natural materials.
Mhm.
Like, it's a time-taking process. Even just I've tried to wrap arrowheads, like mount arrowheads, with tendon, like that's sinew, right? And like you chew on it and it gets all like soft and sticky, and then you wrap it on there and it shrinks when it dries, and it's like, oh, that's awesome. It's like heat shrink. But when it gets wet too long, like in rain, like they wouldn't fight in rain when they couldn't. People that use bow and arrow, they would not fight in rain if they couldn't, if they didn't have to, because your arrows are all soggy, your bow strings are all soggy. Like, it's not a good time to fight, dude. And I'm like, that means your arrows change.
That's exactly what happens with instruments.
I'm like,
With stringed instruments.
because these are your wood and string stuff, dude.
So it's the same exact thing. Like it is totally not recommended or encouraged to bring a guitar, an acoustic guitar, or a violin out into the rain to play because it totally messes up your strings, your wood. Even the wood of your neck can get warped from the water, and your strings can totally be rusted because some of them are made of copper or nickel, and then the wood of it, the body of it can be warped. It can get moldy. It can get destroyed. And so, if you really love your instrument and you have a nice, instrument that you want to take care of, you would never bring it out in the elements. You know, that's the
you'd
weapon.
You'd keep it in a case, like a proper sheath.
Yes,
Like
you
a
keep it
proper
in a
sheath.
case to protect it. And so, with our just in the same line here, with our quivers, with our children, you know, like we definitely want them to grow, to become stronger,
Yeah.
and to be effective quivers for Yah's kingdom. But we want to also protect them
That's right.
and be a shield for them, a covering for them. As you know, Yah has called us to be coverings over our home. You and I are we have our own coverings over our own homes, and you know, over our children, over our wives, and we're to be that shield and protection, and to guard and to shamar, to guard our
Guardians.
home as we guard the commandments of Yah, and also to love and to be careful with how we use these weapons. They're weapons of mass destruction.
There you go, bro.
Destruction of what?
Like
the
a summary chapter.
demonic entities. It's just absolutely strong
Bro.
weapons against the enemy.
Which we'll wrap this up with Isaiah 58 because my son is most invigorated and crying again. So he says, "Dad, preach, bro, preach, but wrap it up."
We were
This is
talking
like he's
about,
giving me a
we're gonna
solid stop here.
We're about to go super full circle. We went
You ready for
way
this?
off. Let's go.
The words, right? This is that weapon of mass destruction that they were looking for in Babylon. Found it right here in Isaiah 58 the whole time. Check this out. Then when you called, Yahuwah would answer. When you cry, he would say, "Here I am." If you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger and speaking of unrighteousness, if you extend your being to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted being, then your light shall dawn in the darkness, and your darkness be as noon. Then Yahuwah would guide you continually and satisfy your being in drought and strengthen your bones. And you shall be like a watered garden and like a spring of water whose waters do not fail. And those from among you shall build the old waste places. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations, and you would be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to dwell in. If you do turn back your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my set-apart day, and shall call the Sabbath a delight. The set-apart day of Yahuwah esteemed, and shall esteem it, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words. Then you shall delight yourself in Yahuwah, and I shall cause you to ride on the heights of the earth, and feed you with the inheritance of Yaakov your father. For the mouth of Yahuwah has spoken.
That is like such a powerful verse.
Bro, you see that? It's like a ballistic missile coming in at your face, man. You understand that's a bomb.
Yeah, totally
Just
a bomb.
blowing stuff up, a precision-guided ordnance.
Yep.
It takes quite a bit of circuitry to make a missile go exactly where you want it to. And the scripture never returns void, which means it never misses, not one time. So we can just
time.
fire that off at you. I love you, but that's some targeted warfare coming your way, y'all. Like, read diligently and fight ferociously. If y'all are into the Kingdom of Darkness stuff, man, go for it with all your might. Be all in with everything you possibly got. But you know what? Don't be lukewarm and just soggy in your life or your convictions. Don't be apathetic, agnostic. Make a choice. Choose this day who you'll serve.
I was just going to say that.
Choose this day. He's like simple words.
Choose
Deuteronomy
this day
28.
who
It's
you
like
will
the tip of
serve.
the knife again. It's like,
Yeah.
just
As for me in my house, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
go
you.
for it, dude. Fire
As for
it
me
off.
and my house, we will serve Yahuwah.
That's right.
We will honor our Elohim. It's like, choose this day. And we don't want to be in the song Anchor that I wrote. The song, you know, it says,
Sing it, dude.
we will.
He's
You
a
know, it's
singer.
like-
I'm like, will you sing
Yeah,
something?
well, it's the as trials come like waves, the called out find their faith. Among the many lost, the faithful find the cost. What is the cost? The cost is take up your cross and follow
Your
him.
life.
Take up your yes, like die to yourself. The cost is
The old
literally sacrifice, worship,
That's-
sacrifice.
That's how we make sacrifices to our Elohim.
Yes.
Like, we literally still make sacrifices, y'all. Like, this is how we carry out the great calling. He was like, I want you to be priests and kings. King David and his sons are the only time you ever hear that in Scripture. It is called in two different accounts, in Chronicles and Samuel. One time they call them, they were kings, Melachim, and they were Kohanim, priests. They were priests and kings. You're like, what?
What?
What? These guys were priests and kings. Dang right, dude, because they had David as their daddy. Yo, David, Psalm 119, slaying stuff.
Oh, you got to read the whole thing.
Hey,
It's
I'm
amazing.
telling you right now, I will give you a custom knife I made if you give me Psalm 119 memorized. If you can memorize Psalm 119 and film yourself saying
Send a
it,
video.
like
Yeah.
in front of a mirror or something, so I know like it's just you talking, bro.
I'd love to see
come
that
on.
too. If you have it,
Dude. I'll
I'd
send
love
you
to
a
see it.
knife.
yeah.
No questions asked. I seriously will, and it'll be awesome. I only have a couple that I've ever made because I'm just like fanatically enthused to be a dad of all time. I got almost a dream offer job back
make
in
knives.
December to make knives.
But that's not your.
Bro,
that's not your
I
calling.
want to so
That's
bad.
not
You
his
don't
calling.
even know.
We all know. We
They're
all
like,
know.
you could make your own designs. I'm like,
you guys know what his calling is,
Yeah.
and that's right here. That's what
it's
this
true.
is.
And you know how I know that? Because I spent a lot of time with the guy who's an actual knife maker. MT Knife.
This one like this. Look at all that squeeze out of epoxy. I like to have plenty of epoxy. I try not to get the clamps on the epoxy like that. It's all right.
This looks like some creature of glory. Look at that thing.
And then,
I'm making Osage orange tent pegs. Finally! Biblical women look like this. Curvy. Able to hold the whole entire house together. Jael. Savage slayer of Sisera. Yes! You gotta pray to Yahuwah that he gives you a righteous hedge apple Osage orange bodark. Ark of the Covenant wood tent peg. Like long-lasting wood of immortality. That's like a righteous woman who's more precious than rubies. She's more desirable than anything else. Pray to Yahuwah for righteous women to rise up, and surely men will seek them like fine treasure.
Genesis neck knife. Fierce Osage orange handles. That's like from the bow wood. He's the guy who gave me the bow staff and taught me all about the Osage orange. I machined those screws. That's what I did on this one. I did. That's all the work I did on that one. He did all the rest, and I put the edge on there, and I made the sheath. But man, it's a ton of work, and it takes an inordinate amount of time, and you're exposed to a continual stream of toxic stuff coming off of the metals and coming off of the sanding belts, the grit. Man, my baby's crying. I'm gonna have to go. I could talk knives all day, but my calling is definitely to be effective with this knife and to be
Yes.
effective with my everyday carry of the confidence that Yahuwah has given me that we were born for such a time as this. You who are watching this, you were literally born for a time like this. You have a purpose and a calling, and it is combat. It is fantastic. It is
Absolutely.
bloody and savage and beautiful and absolutely heart-wrenchingly horrible out here. We would love to invite you into the wilderness. It's a great place to die and a great place to be born again. So,
So choose this day whom you will serve, Yahuwah or the wretched world. You know, and there's only one way to find the hope that will never die. That is Yeshua, who is your rock and salvation. He is your fortress, and you know, confide in him, and he'll show you the way. He'll show you the way. Put this to the test. You know, write it upon your hearts and learn it. I mean, I'm still doing that. I'm still actively doing that. We're both still actively doing that, and I think we hope and pray that this video in itself has been a blessing and something that convicts, nourishes, and challenges people to seek the ways of righteousness, to seek Yah with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways you will acknowledge him and he'll make your path straight. I just hope and pray that that's what this video did. That's what this time of studying did. A conversation of sorts. You know, it's like we had a mixed bag in there, but it was amazing. So
always.
praise Yah, and we're just so thankful to be able to do this for you guys. So praise Yah, and blessings to you.
Live dangerously, y'all.
Shalom.
Read your Bibles.
Tossed
to and fro as dark waves start to grow. The evening breezes turn, violent waters are now stirred. Ships find their way to the bottom of a deep blue grave, as those aboard believe that hope lies where they be. The chant of those that sing, the world does also sing. We're safe here in our ship, trust the boat and hold your grip. The lies are all around, and truth is hardly found. But burning this sailor's heart is the way of the set apart. Yeshua is my rock and salvation, I trust in his foundation. He's my anchor when I'm wrestling the storm. He's my anchor I rely on in the war. He's my anchor, I shall not be afraid. No weapon formed against me shall prosper, for surely he is my anchor in the storm. Trials come like waves, the called out find the faith. Among the many lost, the faithful find the cause. Choose whom you will serve, Yahuwah or the wretched world. There's only one way to find hope that never dies. Yeshua is my rock and salvation, I trust in his foundation.